Last year we had 5 area teams in the second round of the playoffs. Only 2 advanced to the third round. This year 5 entered tonight with a chance at the state title. 4 remain. Only Southern Nash falling in defeat. Hello folks, Josh Walfish alongside as always. Foster Land. Foster, you were at Rocky Mount High, and the Griffons probably the closest game of the 4 winners tonight. What did the Griffons do well enough to pull out the victory?
Well, the 4 turnovers were big that they forced 3 interceptions and a fumble return early on. South Johnston had 10 penalties for 105 yards too that really kind of stalled out their drives. South Johnston was able to move the football pretty good on Rocky Mount, but the turnovers at really untimely periods were kind of the difference.
Griffons lucky, Havelock falling to Eden Moorhead tonight. So the Griffons back at home next week. How big of an impact could that make for Rocky Mount High?
Well, the faces on the sideline kind of said it all, and they made me pull out my phone just so they could believe their own eyes, because they didn't believe that Havelock had lost. We've seen that Moorhead can throw the football a little bit, and that's got to be a concern for Rocky Mount, I think, next week.
You know, Southern Nash, as we mentioned, the only team to fall. They were the other team from the area in the 3A bracket. Firebirds fell behind early to Eastern Alamance, who was unbeaten, the top seed in 3A, and despite a furious rally at the end, was not enough. They fall 35-20 in Alamance County. But speaking of teams, Foster, that are hosting games, one of them is Tarboro, expected, being the 2 seed. They get their matchup with Warsaw James Keenan down in Edgecombe County. Gave up a 82-yard touchdown run the first play from scrimmage, but after that, pure dominance from the Tarboro defense.
After that, they gave up, I think, 207 yards from that point on after the first drive, and it's kind of what we expected to see out of Tarboro this week. They ran the football well, didn't force any turnovers, but they did enough to stop the run tonight.
Yeah, I know Vikings getting a chance to exact some revenge on James Keenan, the team that eliminated them last year down in Warsaw. Elsewhere in Edgecombe County, where I was in Pine Top, Southwest Edgecombe, a dominating 41-21 victory over East Bladen. They gave up an 82-yard kickoff return on the opening kickoff, but after that, it was all Cougars. Marcus Williams, 230 yards, 3 touchdowns. Keith Williams had 2 touchdowns. Tucker Pridgeon threw for a touchdown, and it was exactly what you expect from Southwest Edgecombe. They asserted their will from the start, and despite the fact that it was 14-13 East Bladen at the end of the first quarter, there really was no doubt that the Cougars were the better team tonight. In the last game, the 11th seed, North Edgecombe, pulling off an upset over Weldon, 34-20. They were in complete control of this game. Talking with Coach Keith Parisher, threw in some reserves at the end. Weldon added a couple of touchdowns to make it look a little bit close. But the Warriors spoiling the chalk in the 1A East. So it'll be number 1 Plymouth taking on number 4 South Creek. And the next trip for North Edgecombe to Chocowinity to take on Southside next week. Foster, we all expected 4 teams to be in this position. We didn't really expect 3 home teams. So I'm going to kind of put you on a limb here a little bit. When we convene next week to talk about the regional semifinals, how many teams do you think are going to be victorious, noting the fact that you can change this pick before we film next week?
I would say either 2 or 3. Rocky Mount High's in for a tough test, I think, and I think North Edgecombe may not be able to get past next week.
Well, with Thanksgiving coming next week, we will be filming early. You can see us Tuesday morning on the Telegram Sports Channel.